Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I will be talking about Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is the linguistic theory that the semantic structure of a language shapes or limits the ways in which a speaker forms conception of the world. The basic subject of Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is the relation between perception and language. It describes that how language and perception are related, how language and thought are related, and what is the impact of language on perception and thought. This theory came about in 1929. The theory is named after the American anthropological linguist Edward Sapir and his student Benjamin Lee Whorf. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis proclaimed the influence of language on thought and perception. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis can be divided into two categories. One is the linguistic relativity while the other is linguistic determinism. Let's first describe linguistic relativity. Linguistic relativity states that the structure of our language is in large measure affect the way we perceive the world. Our understanding is determined by the language we speak. Our perception of the world is determined by the language we speak. People understand the world differently, and this understanding is responsible for their perception. Differences in language affects how we perceive external reality. So, linguistic relativity describes the impact of language on perception. There is certain background behind the linguistic relativity. It is that Whorf was chemical engineer working for an insurance company as a fire inspector. He inspected chemical plant and noticed employees only smoked in a room with gasoline barrels marked empty. So he was engineer and in insurance company as a fire inspector. He worked as a fire inspector. He saw that workers only smoked in the room where the barrels are marked empty. So he assumes that language and the word empty, the language is basically responsible for the whole irrational behavior of workers. So he assumes that language basically affect perception. He concluded that the word empty had been misunderstood and therefore responsible for irrational behavior of workers. So the ideas of Whorf basically came from this background. The second category of Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is linguistic determinism. According to determinism, language have a role in shaping our thought. Our mother tongue determines and shapes our thought. Language may determine our thinking pattern, the way we view and think about the world. Linguistic determinism is also called strong version of Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. According to this theory, language determines the thought. So in short, a strong version is that language determines thought and that linguistic categories limit and determine cognitive categories. The weak version is that linguistic categories and usage influences thought and certain kind of non-linguistic behavior. So this is all about Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. In this video, we have discussed the two main categories of the hypothesis, and we concluded that the basic subject of the hypothesis is the relation between language and perception and the relation between language and thought. Thank you very much.